They do not care. They do not care. And some of us are beating our heads up against a wall trying to get someone to see our perspective and our point of view, and they're literally a psychopath. My name is Tiffany, and one of the most important things life has taught me is that you've got to show up for yourself. Hi, my name is Tiffany, and welcome to Present for Myself. Listen, have you ever been in a situation where someone was taking you for granted? You are being kind, you're being open, you're trying to be there because you feel their pain, their stress, or whatever it is they're going through. And so you offer yourself up, you offer your resources up, your time, your energy, your effort up. And rather than being grateful, they continue to take you for granted. They continue to ask you over and over again with no signs of relenting. Or it could be a situation where a person continues to abuse you, lie to you, mistreat you. And then as soon as you try to leave or cut it off or end the situation, they start to fret. They start to get nervous. They start to get anxious. And then you begin to feel more sorry for their situation than you do the fact that they've been putting you through some things. And so you stay anyway. Well, first and foremost, empathy is the ability to see from someone else's point of view, their perspective, to feel what they feel, to go through what they go through. Even if it's not your situation, you almost begin to feel like it's your own. Empathy can be one of three things. It can be cognitive. Cognitive empathy is whenever you can see from someone else's perspective or point of view. And as a result, you're able to understand them on a level. Even when you don't agree, you can still understand how they arrived at that point of view or how they feel the way that they feel. And empathy can be emotional. Emotional empathy is whenever you literally feel what the other person is feeling, that sadness, the anger, the pain, whatever it happens to be, you as an individual begin to feel another person's actual emotions. You don't necessarily act on it with emotional empathy, but you feel it. And if you're not careful, it can actually begin to treat your body the way that it's treating their body. So that's why you have to be very careful with empathy. And then empathy can be compassionate. Compassionate empathy is when you feel what another person is going through, you see what another person is going through, and you sense it, you feel it within yourself, and you're called to act upon it. You feel, or not called, but compelled rather, to act upon it. You give to them, you share with them, you help them or assist them in some way because you feel compassionate empathy, compassion towards that person. And sometimes people can take advantage of that. So what type of people are going to take advantage of another person's kindness? Well, most of the time when you think about people who take advantage of you or control you or manipulate you in some way, we think about dark people, mean people, people who operate from a place of just, possibly even if you believe in the word evil people. People who operate in the dark triad, the personality types, they're typically going to be the ones that we call to mind when we think of people who take advantage of empathy. Dark triad, Machiavellianism, that's the type of thing where people are just very manipulative and controlling, and they know how to get in and push your buttons and do things to pull your puppet strings, if you will. They're like a puppeteer. They pull your puppet strings, they get in and they take control. They're in your head, and they can really manipulate your empathy if you're not a person who is aware of that type of behavior and how to set boundaries against it. Then you have your average run-of-the-mill psychopath, people who literally lack the ability to feel empathy. Those types of people, they'll do harm to you. They'll take from you. They'll steal your grandmother's life savings and not think twice about it. They do not care. They do not care. And some of us are beating our heads up against a wall trying to get someone to see our perspective and our point of view, and they're literally a psychopath. They don't care. They lack the ability to even care. Okay? And then there's people who are narcissists, people who will utilize your strength. They will utilize your supply of empathy towards them, your praise, whatever it happens to be, to build themselves up. You are nothing more to a narcissist than a source of narcissistic supply. And when they leave you and when they walk out of your life, they will move on to the next person. And that's on period, my friend. They will walk out of your life and go on to the next person. They will not regret anything but the loss of the narcissistic supply, the praise, the money, the whatever it is that you supplied them with on a regular basis is all they're really out for. You can tell them all day, how could you? I loved you. They're not hearing that. What they came to get from you, they got, now they're gone. So those three types of people are the ones we typically think about manipulating our empathy. So that's what we typically think about. But what we don't think about sometimes is the manager at our job who's asked us to stay for the fourth time this week, but they seem to pass 3 or 4 other cubicles on the way of people who they never ask or people who they ask and who say no. We don't think about the pastor at that church or the leader of that spiritual organization we go to who's always calling on you to give up things in order to serve in the helps ministry or, feed the poor and get out and help different programs in the church. And you don't even have a life anymore. You can't even take a vacation anymore because you have tapped in to the feeling of they need me. Without me, and I'm not talking about I'm just so prideful that I think people can't do without me. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you literally feel the need. You feel the fact that if no one is there to open up the facility this coming Thursday or Friday, then the young people aren't going to have someone to help them out. But who else is being asked? Who else is being pulled on in that way? Because here you are, feeling the situation, feeling the need, but still needing balance in your life, still needing to show up for yourself, still needing to show up for your family, and not having the ability to separate yourself from your feelings of empathy and always helping out to the point where you drive yourself to a place of sickness or anger or resentment. None of it is good. Don't just always look for the person who overtly seems like they're going to try to manipulate you. I want to talk about a particular very sad and maddening type of weaponized empathy. And that's where you are forced to forgive something that you are not ready to process. And people will make you feel guilty because you're not ready to process a certain type of emotion that comes from you having been treated poorly. Rather than allow you to own whatever it is for yourself, process it for yourself, they tell you not only do you need to forgive, but you need to forget because that's the best thing that you can do. That's the highest form of being a human being. You don't have to allow anything or anyone back into your situation that has hurt you. It is your right as a human being to protect yourself and to move forward in a way that allows you to show up for yourself and to continue to do the things that you've come to this world to do without the hindrance of always having to look over your shoulder and wonder when the next shoe is going to drop, wonder when the next piece of trauma is going to be handed down from someone or an entity that you were forced to forgive. Another way people can weaponize your empathy towards you is through gaslighting. Gaslighting trying to make you feel like you're going crazy, like there's something wrong with you, when you innately feel because you're empathetic that something is not right. Now, let me put a pin here and say there are people who are empathetic, highly empathetic. A lot of people, most of us have the ability to operate from a place of empathy, seeing things from someone else's perspective, feeling things from someone else's place, or being compelled through compassionate empathy to help. Then there are people who are actual empaths. An empath is someone who almost on a paranormal level has the ability to feel and to sense. Whether you believe in those types of things or not, that's your business. I know that I am an empath. And so I have ability to literally feel what other people are feeling. And sometimes I have to be very mindful about that. And I have a video that's called How to Protect Your Energy. And that comes from my experiences of being an empath. And I highly recommend that you watch that if you are an empath, or even if you're just a person who's highly empathetic and you need to know how to manage that. But I wanted to stick a pin there and say that. So people gaslight you and they try to make you think that the thing that you're feeling or sensing is not true. And you know that it's true through your own experiences, through your own education about certain things. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to bat 100 every single time, but you kind of, at this point, many of us have gotten to a place where we know how to trust our gut about something. And they say, oh no, I'm not cheating. Oh no, I was never there. I was never with him or I was never with her. And just something on the inside of you, you go against your gut, even though you're feeling. And then here they come again. I can't believe that you would even think that I would. And then there comes your guilt. There goes your empathy, feeling their sense of dread, feeling their sense of fret that they may lose you. And then you pull back. So how? How do you regulate empathy? How do you make sure that it doesn't get the better of you? How do you make sure that your own empathy does not become toxic against you? And how do you make sure that other people are not able to take the kindness that is coming from your empathy as a weakness and weaponize it against you? Well, the way that you learn to regulate empathy, or one of the things you can do to regulate your empathy, is to recognize whenever you are being pulled on because of guilt or a guilt complex that you might have. Guilt complexes a lot of times are put in us when we are children, when we are young, when you are made to feel bad or poorly as a result of choices that you make, choices that you may even make to protect yourself. And you're told things like, you're not doing things for the good of the family. What's wrong with you? Look what you've done. Look what you have caused. And you are heaped upon with emotions that you're too young or you don't have the ability to really regulate. And you feel bad and you are condemned for things that you should have been taught through, things that you should have been loved through, things that you should have been taught how to regulate or manage. And just giving compassion yourself, and maybe you never got that compassion. And so all you ever felt was guilt about the things that you did, the choices that you made, the mistakes that you may have made. So in a situation like that, you need to get the assistance that you need to help work through processing guilt, so that when empathy does come upon you, you're not doing anything from a guilt place, but you truly are doing it just because you love your fellow man and you want to help, but you also love yourself enough to know how to set those boundaries. Another thing you can do is learn to recognize the difference between your emotions and another person's, and don't own anything that's not yours. Don't own it. You may feel it, you may sense it, but you have to say to yourself, sometimes you have to audibly out of your mouth say to yourself, these are not my feelings. These are feelings I picked up from somebody else. These are feelings I picked up from that clerk at the grocery store. These are feelings that I picked up from my coworker today when she was talking incessantly about the problems that she's having with her child. And now I'm feeling a little angry or unstable, or like I don't know what's going on. Where did that come from? When I went to work today, I was fine. Learn to understand that all feelings that you feel don't belong to you necessarily. It could be something you picked up from somewhere else. And then you can say, okay, well, that's not my feeling. You know, I understand her problem and I can empathize cognitively with what's going on, but I'm not going to allow myself to get an emotional attachment to the things that she's got going on. Also, when you are at a place where you understand that someone is taking your kindness for weakness, kindness that was born out of empathy and compassion as weakness, and you do decide that you're going to do something about it, whether it's to cut that person off, remove the toxic energy from it, whatever it happens to be prepared to follow through. Be prepared to follow through. A person who is already manipulating you and taking advantage of your kindness for weakness, don't you think they know whenever you are not being real and when they can get back into your good graces again? They do. But you've got to be prepared to say, I will no longer be used because I am a nice person, because I am a kind person, because I'm an empathetic person, and because I feel so deeply. You're not going to use me as a dump anymore. You're not going to use me to do your bidding anymore. You're not going to take advantage of my time and my talent and my resources anymore. Not on this job, not in this marriage, not in this friendship, not even as your parent. No more. Because each time you don't, they're going to continue to lose respect. And after a while, your words will mean nothing. Another thing that you can do is to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for the times that you have allowed your empathy to cause you to act, and not just act in a way that, you know, hey, I'm just doing good by my fellow men, but act in a way that brought about them trying to manipulate you and take your kindness for weakness. When it's all said and done, a person who is empathetic, a person who is compassionate, that's a virtue. That's a beautiful thing. You are not Boo Boo the Fool. You are not stupid. You are not weak. You are strong. You are intelligent. And you are a person that genuinely wants to make a difference in this world by helping your fellow man. Never lose that sense. Never lose that desire, and never lose that calling. But one thing they ain't about to do is take your kindness for weakness. Be present for yourself. Oh, and I am rooting for you.
Sometimes when we don't know the words we hum.